The alarm bells rang through the space station. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Hyun-woo ran as fast as he could to the control room. His heart was beating hard. Something big was happening. When he reached the control room, everyone was looking at the big screen. The screen showed empty space with dots of light from distant stars. But there was something else. Something that made everyone afraid. "What is that thing?" asked Tae-jin. He was the best soldier in their fleet. Even he looked scared. Hyun-woo looked at the screen. There was a shape moving through space. It was huge, bigger than anything they had ever seen. The shape was dark and covered with strange bumps and lines. It looked like a giant metal beast floating in the darkness. "Where did it come from?" Hyun-woo asked. Yoonji was working at her computer. Her fingers moved fast over the buttons. Numbers and letters filled her screen. "It just appeared," she said. "Our sensors did not see it coming. One moment there was nothing. The next moment it was there." The thing on the screen was moving toward their space. It was not moving fast, but it was so big that each movement covered a huge distance. Hyun-woo tried to understand what he was seeing. In all his years working in space, he had never seen anything like this. "How big is it?" he asked. Bo-ram was checking the measurements. His face went white. "Sir, it is 4 kilometers long, maybe more. It is bigger than our biggest city ships." Everyone in the room became quiet. Their biggest ships were only 0.5 kilometer long. This thing was 8 times bigger. It could carry millions of people, or millions of weapons. "What kind of ship? Is that big?" asked So-young. Hyun-woo knew the answer, but he did not want to say it. For 300 years there had been stories. Old stories that most people thought were just tales to scare children. Stories about a species that had disappeared long ago. A species that had been weak and small when they vanished. "Run a scan on it," Hyun-woo said. "Find out what it is made of." The computers worked for several minutes. When the results came back, everyone looked confused. The ship was made of materials they had never seen before. The energy coming from it was stronger than anything in their databases. "Sir," said Won-bin. He was their best engineer. "The energy readings do not make sense. This ship has more power than our entire fleet put together." Hyun-woo felt cold fear in his stomach. "Are there any life signs?" "Yes, sir. The computer says there are about 50,000 beings on that ship. But the readings are strange. The life signs do not match any species we know." Dong-hyun was looking at the weapon readings. His job was to know about all the weapons in the galaxy. "Sir, I cannot identify the weapons on that ship. There are hundreds of them, maybe thousands, but they use technology we do not understand." Room was quiet except for the humming of computers. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it first. Finally, Yoon-ah spoke. She was young, and sometimes said things others were afraid to say. "Could it be them? Could it be the humans?" The word humans made everyone stop breathing for a moment. Humans were supposed to be gone. Their planet had died 300 years ago. Everyone knew that. It was in all the history books, but the stories said humans were different from other species. The stories said they were dangerous, that they could build things no one else could build, that they could fight in ways no one else could fight. "Humans are extinct," said Tae-jin, but his voice was not strong when he said it. "Are they?" asked Eunji. She had found some old files on her computer. "Look at this. These are the last readings we got from human space 300 years ago, right before their planet went dark." She put the old readings on the screen next to the new readings from the giant ship. The energy patterns were similar. Very similar. "That could be a coincidence," said Hyun-woo, but he did not believe his own words. The ship on the screen continued, moving toward them. It was still far away, but it was getting closer. If it kept moving at the same speed, it would reach their territory in 2 days. "We need to contact the council," said Hyun-woo. "They need to know about this." "What do we tell them?" asked So-young. Hyun-woo looked at the giant ship on the screen. It was like looking at a nightmare that had become real. "We tell them that humans might not be extinct, and if that is a human ship, then we are all in trouble." Jiho arrived at the station 6 hours later. He was the captain of their fastest ship. When he saw the readings, his face became very serious. "How many ships like this have we seen?" He asked. "Just this one," said Hyun-woo. But if they can build one, they can build more. What do we know about human technology? Yunji had been reading old files all day. Not much. The records from 300 years ago say they were good at building things. They learned fast. They could solve problems other species could not solve. But they were weak, said Taejin. They had small ships and simple weapons. 300 years ago, said Yunji. What could they build in 300 years if they were not really extinct? No one answered. No one wanted to think about that. The giant ship kept moving through space. It had not sent any messages. It had not answered their calls. It just moved forward like it owned the space it was traveling through. We need to contact them, said Jiho. How? Asked Hyunwoo. We have been sending signals for hours. They do not answer. Maybe they do not want to talk. Or maybe they are deciding what to do with us, said Yuna. That night, no one on the station slept well. They took turns watching the screen. The ship never stopped moving. It never changed direction. It just kept coming toward their space like it had every right to be there. In the morning, more ships appeared on their sensors. Not human ships. Ships from the Council. Ships from their allies. Ships from their enemies. Everyone had heard about the giant ship. Everyone wanted to see it for themselves. But as the ships gathered near the station, everyone realized the same thing. All their ships together were still smaller than the one giant ship moving toward them. What if the stories are true? Asked So Young. What if humans really are dangerous? Hyunwoo looked at the screen. The ship was close enough now that they could see details on its surface. It had weapons that looked like nothing they had ever seen. It had armor that seemed to bend light around it. It moved through space like the laws of physics were just suggestions. Then we are about to find out, he said, what 300 years of human development looks like. The ship kept coming, and everyone watching knew that their galaxy would never be the same again. Captain Ji-ho stood on the bridge of his ship. His hands were shaking, but he tried to hide it. He had been chosen to make first contact with the giant ship. It was the most important job of his life. It might also be the last job of his life. Sir, we are close enough to try talking to them, said So Young. She was working at the communications station. Her voice was quiet and nervous. Ji-ho nodded. Send them our standard greeting, all languages, all frequencies. The ship sent signals into space. The signals said hello in 50 different ways. They explained that they came in peace. They asked the giant ship to please respond. Nothing happened. Minutes passed. The giant ship kept moving toward them. It did not slow down. It did not answer. It acted like Ji-ho's ship was not even there. Try again, said Ji-ho. They sent more signals. This time they used mathematics. They used pictures. They used music. Still nothing. Dong-hyun was watching the weapon systems. Sir, that ship has more guns pointed at us than our entire fleet has. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it in seconds. But they have not, said Yun-ah. Maybe that is a good sign. Or maybe they are playing with us, said Wonbin Da-yun. Was working at her computer station. She was their expert on electronic systems. Sir, I am getting strange readings. Something is trying to get into our computers. Block it, said Ji-ho quickly. I am trying. But Da-yun's fingers moved fast over her controls. Sir, this is not like any hacking I have seen. It is not breaking through our defenses. It is just walking through them. Like our security does not exist. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge changed. Instead of showing space and numbers, they all showed the same thing. A face. It was a human face. Ji-ho had seen pictures of humans in old books. But seeing a real human on his screen was different. The human looked young, but his eyes looked old. Like he had seen many things. Dangerous things. I am Commander Min-ho of the human ship Retribution, the human said. His voice was calm and clear. He spoke their language perfectly. You have 30 seconds to explain why you are in human space before we decide you are enemies. The bridge became very quiet. No one moved. No one even breathed. Human space? Ji-ho managed to say. This is neutral territory. It has been neutral for hundreds of years. The human's face did not change. Not anymore. 29 seconds. Ji-ho's mind raced. How could this be human space? Humans were supposed to be extinct. And how did this human know their language so well? We are peaceful explorers, Jiho said quickly. We represent the Galactic Council. We want to talk with your people. The Galactic Council, said Minho. His voice had no emotion in it. The same council that invaded human space 300 years ago? What? Jiho was confused. There was no invasion. Humans died out naturally. Their planet was destroyed by environmental problems. Minho smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Is that what they told you? 15 seconds, Daon whispered. Sir, they have taken complete control of our systems. I cannot lock them out. I cannot even see how they got in. Jiho realized they were completely helpless. This human could do anything he wanted to their ship. He could shut down their engines. He could turn off their air. He could make their weapons fire at their own allies. Please, said Jiho, we did not know this was your territory. We will leave immediately. 10 seconds, said Minho. What do you want us to do? 5 seconds. Jiho closed his eyes. He thought about his crew. He thought about his family back home. He thought about all the people who were counting on him to handle this correctly. Stop, he said. Please, tell us what we need to do. Minho looked at him for a long moment. Turn around. Go back to your council. Tell them that humans have returned. Tell them we remember what they did to us. Tell them we are not the weak species they tried to destroy 300 years ago. I do not understand, said Jiho. What invasion? What destruction? Our history books say, your history books lie, said Minho. But that is not your fault. You were not there. Your grandparents were not even born yet, so I will give you a chance to leave peacefully. And if we do not leave? Minho's image disappeared from the screens. For a moment, Jiho thought the conversation was over. Then their sensors started screaming. Sir, shouted Wanbin, their weapons are powering up. On the main screen, they could see the human ship. Lights were appearing all over its surface. Hundreds of lights, thousands of lights. Each light was a weapon bigger than anything on Jiho's ship. Sir, said Donghyun, if they fire those weapons, they will not just destroy us. They will destroy everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. All ships, retreat immediately, Jiho shouted into his radio. There were other ships nearby. Ships from other species who had come to see the giant human vessel. This is Captain Jiho. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. But before any of the ships could move, something incredible happened. The human ship just disappeared. 1 second it was there, filling their screens with its massive bulk. The next second there was nothing but empty space. Where did it go? Asked So Young. Da Yun was checking all her instruments. I do not know. It did not move. It did not jump to hyperspace. It just stopped being there. Then their communication system crackled to life again. Minho's voice came through clearly, but there was no image this time. We will be watching, he said. Tell your council that humans are back. Tell them we are not interested in joining their little galactic community. We have our own plans now. Wait, said Jiho. Can we talk? Can we arrange a proper meeting? You are talking to me now. I mean a formal meeting, with diplomats, with proper protocols. Minho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, sadder. Captain, your people tried to wipe out my species when we were weak and innocent. We escaped. We survived. We grew strong. Now we are back. What do you think we should do about that? Jiho did not know what to say. If the human was telling the, truth, then everything they had been taught about history was wrong. Humans had not died out naturally. They had been attacked, driven away, and now they were back for revenge. I do not know, Jiho said honestly, but surely we can find a peaceful solution. Peaceful. Minho repeated the word like it tasted bad. Yes, we are very interested in peace. The same kind of peace your people offered us 300 years ago. The radio went quiet. Jiho waited, but Minho did not speak again. Sir, said Yuna quietly. What do we do now? Jiho looked at his crew. They were all young. They had all grown up believing that the galaxy was a mostly peaceful place. They had been taught that different species could work together and solve problems through talking. But the human ship had weapons that could destroy planets. It had technology that made their best systems look like toys. And its captain talked, like someone who had very good reasons to hate the rest of the galaxy. "We go home," said Jiho. "We report what we saw. And we pray that someone smarter than us can figure out how to fix this mess." As his ship turned around and headed back toward Council space, Jiho could not stop thinking about Minho's words. Humans remembered being attacked. They remembered being driven from their homes, and they had spent 300 years getting ready to return. The galaxy was about to become a very dangerous place. Commander Minho stood on the bridge of the Retribution. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. The bridge was dark except for the soft blue light from the computer screens. Outside the windows, he could see 17 alien ships, moving to surround them. "Sir," said Lieutenant Boram, "the alien ships are trying to get us in a circle. They think they can trap us." Minho almost smiled. These aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. The human ship was not trapped. It was exactly where it wanted to be. "What are their weapon capabilities?" he asked. Jinwoo looked at his science station. "Their ships use plasma cannons and missile systems. Very basic technology. Our shields could block their entire fleet firing at once, and we would not even notice." "And their ship hulls?" "Made of standard metal alloys. Strong enough for normal space travel. But they would melt if they got too close to a star." Minho nodded. The aliens were using technology that humans had abandoned 200 years ago. It was like children with wooden swords trying to fight adults with laser weapons on. The main screen, Captain Jiho appeared again. He looked nervous but was trying to appear brave. Minho could respect that. "Commander Minho," said Jiho, "we have more ships coming. Representatives from 12 different species. They all want to meet with humans and discuss peaceful relations." "Peaceful relations," Minho repeated. "Tell me, Captain, what happens when your ships encounter a hostile force?" "We try to talk first. If that fails, we defend ourselves. And right now, your ships have weapons pointed at mine." Jiho looked uncomfortable. "That is standard procedure when meeting unknown vessels. It does not mean we are hostile." "I see," said Minho. He turned to Boram. "Lieutenant, please show our guests the difference between their standard procedure and ours." Boram's fingers moved over her control panel. "Target selected, sir. The asteroid field at coordinates 77 Mark 4. Fire 1 shot. Minimum. Power setting." "Yes, sir." On the screen, Minho could see the asteroid field that Boram had targeted. It was far from any of the alien ships, so they would be safe. The field contained hundreds of space rocks, some as big as cities. The Retribution's main weapon fired. There was no flash of light, no explosion, no dramatic effects. The asteroids were just gone. All of them. In less than a second, millions of tons of rock and metal simply ceased to exist. The alien ship's sensors went crazy. Alarms started ringing on every bridge. Captain Jiho's face went white. "How?" Jiho started to say, then stopped. "Our weapons do not destroy matter," Minho explained calmly. "They edit it out of existence. The rocks you just saw were not blown up. They were removed from reality, as if they had never been there at all." Wanbin was looking at his engineering readouts. His hands were shaking. "Sir, the energy readings from that shot, it should not be possible. They used more power in 1 second than our entire planet uses in a year. And that was our smallest weapon at minimum power," said Minho. "Would you like to see what our larger weapons can do?" "No," said Jiho quickly. "No, that will not be necessary." Minho could see the fear in the alien captain's eyes. Good. Fear would keep them alive. Fear would make them listen. "Captain Jiho, I want you to understand something," Minho said. 300 years ago, your people attacked human colonies. You destroyed our ships. You killed millions of our civilians. You thought you were wiping out a weak species that could not fight back. There are no records of any such attack," Jiho said weakly. "Of course there are not. We erased them, just like we erased those asteroids. When humans learned what the galaxy was really like, we decided to disappear. We made you forget we ever existed." Jinwoo turned to Minho. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions from the alien ships. They are calling for reinforcements. More ships are coming." "How many?" "At least 50 ships, sir," maybe more. Minho was not worried. 50 ships or 500 ships, it would not matter. But he wanted to make a point. He wanted the aliens to understand exactly how outmatched they were. "Open a channel to all alien ships," he said. "Channel open, sir." Minho's voice was broadcast to every alien vessel in the area. "This is Commander Minho of the Terran Defense Fleet. I know you are calling for backup. That is fine. Call as many ships as you want. But understand this. We could destroy your entire fleet without even charging our main weapons." Captain Jiho appeared on screen again. "Commander, please. We do not want to fight. We want to talk." "Then talk," said Minho. "But first, answer this question. What gives your species the right to exist?" The question confused Jiho. "What? What do you mean?" "I mean exactly what I said. What gives any of your species the right to take up space in this galaxy? The right to breathe air? The right to use resources? The right to live?" I do not understand. We exist because we exist. That is our right." "Wrong," said Minho. "You exist because humans allow you to exist. 300 years ago when you attacked us, you gave up any natural right to life. We could have wiped out every species in this galaxy. We could have taken every planet, every moon, every space station. We chose not to." The bridge of the alien ship was very quiet. Jiho looked like he was trying to understand something too big for his mind. "Instead," Minho continued, "we left. We went to places you could not follow. We built ships you could not imagine. We developed weapons you could not understand. And we waited." "Waited for what?" asked Jiho. "For you to prove that you could be better than you were. For you to show that you could build a galaxy worth saving." More alien ships appeared on the sensors. Big ships. Warships. Ships with enough firepower to destroy planets. But compared to the Retribution, they looked like toys. "Sir," said Boram, 63 enemy ships now. They are taking attack positions." "Let them," said Minho. "Captain Jiho, I want you to give an order to your fleet. I want you to fire everything you have at my ship." "What?" "You heard me. Fire. Every weapon. Use your best shots. Show me what 300 years of alien military development looks like." We cannot do that. It would be an act of war." "Captain, we are already at war. We have been at war since your people first attacked human space. The only question is whether this war ends with your surrender or your extinction." Jiho looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him. They all knew they were facing something beyond their understanding. "All ships," Jiho said slowly. "Target the human vessel. Prepare to fire all weapons." "Sir," said one of his officers. "Are you sure about this?" "Do it," said Jiho. 63 alien ships pointed their weapons at the Retribution. Plasma cannons charged up, missiles loaded into tubes. Every captain checked their targeting systems twice. "Fire," said Jiho. The space around the Retribution lit up like a new star. Hundreds of energy beams and thousands of missiles hit the human ship all at once. The explosion was so bright that the alien crews had to close their eyes. When the light faded, the Retribution was still there. It had not moved. It had not even turned on its shields. The most powerful attack the aliens could manage had done absolutely nothing. "Impressive," said Minho. "Jinwoo? What was the damage?" "Our hull temperature increased by 0.003 degrees, sir. Should I activate the cooling system?" "Not necessary." Minho looked at the screen where Jiho's shocked face stared back at him. "Captain, you just saw the difference between human technology and alien technology. Your entire fleet firing together could not even scratch our paint." "This is impossible," whispered Jiho. "No, Captain. This is what happens when a species has 300 years to develop in peace. When they do not waste time fighting wars or arguing about territory. When they focus all their energy on becoming something better." Minho stood up from his command chair. Around him, his crew continued their work as if nothing unusual had happened. "Now," he said, "let us discuss the terms of your surrender." The Galactic Council emergency meeting was the largest in history. Representatives from every known species filled the great chamber. The air was thick with fear and confusion. Nobody understood what was happening, but everyone knew it was bad. Jae Young stood at the center of the chamber. She was the council's chief historian. Her job was to keep records of everything that happened in the galaxy. But today, she had to tell everyone that their records were wrong. "Council members," she said, her voice echoing through the huge room, "I have spent the last 3 days checking our historical databases. What I found changes everything we thought we knew about humans." Admiral Kyung-ho of the Altarian Navy stood up. He was old and had fought in many wars. "Historian Jae Young, our records clearly show that humans died out naturally. Their planet suffered environmental collapse. There was no outside interference." "That is what our records show," said Jae Young. "But our records are wrong." The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Council leader Seok Jin had to bang his gavel many times to restore order. "Explain yourself," said Seok Jin. Jae Young activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed star maps from 300 years ago. "These are the last known positions of human ships before they disappeared. Notice anything strange?" The representatives looked at the map. Slowly, some of them began to understand. "The human ships were not near their home planet when they vanished," said Hae Jin, the council's strategic advisor. "They were scattered across the outer rim." "Exactly," said Jae Young. "If humans had died from environmental problems on their homeworld, their ships would have been trying to evacuate people. Instead, their ships were running away from something." Before anyone could respond, the air in the center of the chamber began to shimmer. The holographic display flickered and went out. Then, impossibly, a human appeared, standing where the display had been. It was Commander Min Ho. Panic filled the chamber. Security guards reached for their weapons, but their guns would not work. Some representatives tried to run, but the doors would not open. Everyone was trapped with a human who had somehow traveled across space instantly. "Please remain calm," said Min Ho. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear, even though he was not shouting. "I am not here to hurt anyone. I am here to tell you the truth." Seok Jin found his voice. How did you get here? This station is in the middle of council space, light years from where your ship was seen." "Distance is not a problem for us anymore," said Min Ho simply. "We learned to fold space. We can be anywhere we want to be, anytime we want to be there." "That is impossible," said Admiral Kyung-ho. "The energy required for instantaneous transportation across such distances would be more than the output of a star." "Yes, it would," said Min Ho. "Lucky for us, we know how to harness the power of stars." The chamber was completely silent. Every representative stared at the human standing calmly in their midst. He looked young and ordinary, but he had just casually mentioned technology that was beyond their wildest dreams. "You want to know what really happened 300 years ago?" said Min Ho. "I will tell you." He waved his hand, and the air around him filled with images. Real images, not holograms. Three-dimensional scenes that showed events from the past as if they were happening right now. The first image showed human ships exploring space. The ships were small and simple compared to what aliens use now, but they were clearly advanced. For their time, humans were peaceful, making contact with other species, sharing technology, offering friendship. "We were naive," said Min Ho. "We thought intelligence meant wisdom. We thought advanced species would be peaceful and kind. We were wrong." The images changed. Now they showed alien fleets attacking human colonies, ships with the markings of the Altarian Navy, the Velkari Empire, and a dozen other species that were still represented in this chamber. Admiral Kyung-ho went pale. "Those are Altarian ships, but there are no records of any campaign against humans." "Of course there are not," said Min Ho. "We erased them. The images showed the war that the galaxy had forgotten. Humans fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. Human civilians being slaughtered. Human children crying as their homes burned." "You attacked us because we were different," said Min Ho. "Because we advanced too quickly. Because we solved problems that your species had struggled with for centuries. You were afraid we would become too powerful." The images showed humans retreating, their ships damaged, and their colonies destroyed. But these were not the actions of a defeated people. They were the actions of a people who were planning something. "So you decided to remove us before we became a threat," Min Ho continued. "You sent every ship you had. You coordinated the attack across multiple species. You wanted to wipe us out completely." Council leader Seok Jin found his voice. "Even if this is true, there are no records of it. How do we know you are not lying? The images around Minho changed again. Now they showed alien leaders meeting, in secret, planning the attack on human space, dividing up human territories before the war even began. You are seeing actual recorded events, said Minho. We kept copies of everything. Every meeting, every battle, every atrocity. We saved it all. One of the recordings showed Seok-jin's predecessor, an alien who looked just like him, signing documents that authorized the final solution to the human problem. My ancestor, whispered Seok-jin. Yes, said Minho. Your family has led this council for generations. Your ancestor personally ordered the destruction of human colonies that contained over 50 million civilians. The chamber was filled with horror. Representatives stared at the images of their own ancestors planning genocide, ships from their own fleets burning human cities. But you failed, said Minho. You hurt us badly, but you did not destroy us. Some humans escaped. We ran to the edges of known space, to places too dangerous for your ships to follow. The images showed human survivors building new colonies in asteroid fields and around dying stars, working desperately to rebuild their civilization while staying hidden from their enemies. And then you made your biggest mistake, said Minho. You assumed we were finished. You thought we would either die out or remain primitive forever. So, you erased all records of the war and told yourselves that humans had simply gone extinct, naturally. What did you do during those 300 years? Asked Hee-jin. Minho smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. We learned, we grew, we became everything you were afraid we might become, and more. The images around him showed human technology advancing at an incredible rate. Ships that could travel faster than light, weapons that could destroy planets, computers that could think faster than any biological brain. We also planned, said Minho. We decided what we would do when we were strong enough to return. We debated whether we should simply wipe you all out as you tried to do to us. What did you decide? Asked Admiral Kyung-ho quietly. We decided to give you a choice, said Minho. You can surrender and accept human leadership of the galaxy. You can agree to follow our rules and live peacefully under our protection. Or what? Asked Seok-jin. Or you can cease to exist, said Minho simply. Not just your ships or your planets, your entire species erased from reality as if you had never been born. The representatives looked around at each other in terror. Some of them had tears in their eyes. Others looked angry. All of them looked afraid. You cannot be serious, said Admiral Kyung-ho. To destroy entire species, that would be genocide on a scale never seen before. Yes, said Minho. It would be exactly what you tried to do to us, except we have the power to actually succeed. How long do we have to decide? Asked Seok-jin. You have already decided, said Minho. By attacking us 300 years ago, you chose war. The only question now is whether you will surrender quickly or fight hopelessly. The images around Minho disappeared. He stood alone in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the representatives of dozens of species, all of whom were now his enemies, or his subjects. I will give you 1 day to discuss this among yourselves, he said. Tomorrow, human ships will arrive at every major world in the galaxy. You will surrender unconditionally, or you will be removed. And if we surrender? Asked Hye-jin. What happens to us then? You live, said Minho. You follow our rules. You contribute to a better galaxy. You learn to be worthy of the mercy we are offering. He began to fade away, his body becoming transparent. Wait, called Seok-jin. Can we at least negotiate terms? Minho's voice came from the air, even though his body was almost gone. Council leader, your ancestor had a chance to negotiate with humans. He chose war instead. Now you must live with the consequences of his choice. Please, said Seok-jin desperately. There must be some way to avoid this. But Minho was gone. The chamber was left in stunned silence as the most powerful beings in the galaxy realized they had just become the weakest. Fleet Admiral Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the Absolute, the largest ship ever built by humans. Through the massive windows, he could see 12 other human vessels hanging in space like sleeping giants. Each ship was bigger than most alien space stations. Together, they contained enough firepower to remake the galaxy. "Admiral," said Captain Yujin, "we are receiving surrender messages from 47 star systems. The Velkari Empire wants to become our protectorate. The Zephyrian Confederacy is asking for negotiation meetings." Sung Ho nodded but did not smile. There was no joy in this victory. For 300 years, humans had hoped the galaxy would become a better place on its own. Instead, it had become worse. Wars never stopped. Slavery was common. Entire species were treated like property. "Any word from the major powers?" he asked. "The Altarian Navy is still resisting," said Yujin. "They have gathered their entire fleet at their home system. Admiral Kyung-ho sent a message saying they will fight to the last ship. And the others? The Kronar hegemony wants to negotiate. The Council is asking for more time to consider our demands." Sung Ho walked to the tactical display. It showed the entire galaxy with human ships marked in blue and alien forces marked in red. There was a lot more red than blue, but that did not matter. One human ship could defeat 1,000 alien ships. "Open a channel to Earth Command," said Sung Ho. The screen flickered, and the face of President Chang Min appeared. She was in her office on Earth, surrounded by advisors and military officials. "Admiral," she said, "what is the status of the surrender operation?" "About half the galaxy has surrendered already," Sung Ho reported. "The others are still deciding. A few are talking about fighting. Any problems?" "No, ma'am. Our demonstrations have been very effective. When alien leaders see us relocate a moon or regulate a star's output, they understand that resistance is pointless." Chang Min looked tired. She had not wanted this job. None of the human leaders had wanted to rule over other species, but the galaxy had forced their hand. "Admiral, I want you to remember something," she said. "We are not here to be conquerors. We are here to be teachers. These species need to learn how to live peacefully." "I understand, ma'am." "Do you?" "Because some of my advisors are worried that our people might start enjoying this power too much." "Power corrupts, Admiral, even human power." Sung Ho understood her concern. For 300 years, humans had lived in small, peaceful communities. They had almost forgotten what war was like. Now they were the strongest force in the galaxy, and that kind of power could change people. "Ma'am, we will remember why we are doing this," he said. The communication ended, and Sung Ho turned back to his crew. They were all young people who had volunteered for this mission. They believed in building a better galaxy, but they had never seen the worst of what aliens could do to each other. "Admiral," said Lieutenant So Young, "we are getting a transmission from the Altarian home system. Admiral Kyung-ho wants to speak with you personally." "Put him through." The screen showed the bridge of an alien battleship. Admiral Kyung-ho looked old and angry. Behind him, Sung Ho could see thousands of alien ships prepared for battle. "Admiral Sung Ho," said Kyung-ho, "I want you to know that the Altarian Navy will never surrender to humans. We have defended this galaxy for 1,000 years. "Admiral Kyung-ho," said Sung Ho calmly, "your Navy has spent 1,000 years fighting wars that accomplished nothing. You have killed billions of beings and solved zero problems. We have maintained order." "You have maintained chaos," said Sung Ho. "Your order includes slavery, genocide, and constant warfare. That is not order. That is barbarism." Kyung-ho's face turned red with anger. "You think you can judge us? You disappeared for 300 years. You have no right to come back and tell us how to live." "We have every right," said Sung Ho. "We are the only species in this galaxy that has learned to live without war. We are the only ones who have eliminated poverty, disease, and hatred from our society." "By hiding," shouted Kyung-ho. "By running away." "By learning," said Sung Ho. "By growing. By becoming better than we were. Something your species has never tried to do." The alien admiral pointed his finger at the screen. "I will not let humans rule over proud Altarian warriors." "Then you will watch your warriors die for nothing," said Sung Ho sadly. "Admiral, I am going to show you something." He nodded to his weapons officer. Lieutenant Dong Hyun pressed a single button on his console. On Kyung-ho's screen, they could see what happened next. One of the moons orbiting the Altarian home planet simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not blown up, just gone, as if it had never existed. "That moon had a population of 50 million Altarians," said Sung Ho. "They are all alive and well. We moved them to a safe planet in another system, but we could have erased them instead. All of them. In the time it takes you to blink." Kyung Ho stared at his screen in shock. Where did you move them?" "To a world with clean air, fresh water, and no weapons," said Sung Ho. "A world where they can learn to live in peace. Their children will grow up never knowing what war looks like. You cannot just move people without their permission." "Admiral, your government was planning to use those civilians as shields in this battle. You were going to hide your ships near their cities, so we could not attack you without killing. Innocents? We saved their lives." Kyung Ho looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give against an enemy that could move entire populations across the galaxy? "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. "We want you to stop fighting," said Sung Ho. "We want you to disarm your weapons. We want you to release all your slaves. We want you to start treating other species as equals instead of enemies or property. And if we refuse, then your species joins the 57 others that have already been relocated to education planets." "Education planets? Worlds where you can learn to be civilized," said Sung Ho. "No weapons, no armies, no governments based on fear and violence. Just communities working together to build better lives." Kyung Ho was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his officers waited, in space around their planet. Thousands of alien warships held their positions. "How do I know you will not just kill us all anyway?" asked Kyung Ho. "Because we could have done that already," said Sung Ho. "Admiral, if we wanted your species dead, you would already be dead. We do not want to rule over corpses. We want to rule over living beings who can learn to be better. And if we learn? If we become what you want us to become? What then?" "Then you get your freedom back," said Sung Ho. "You get to govern yourselves again. You get to explore space again. You get to be part of a galaxy where war is just a bad memory." Kyung Ho looked at his tactical display. It showed 13 human ships facing his entire fleet. 13 ships that could destroy planets with single shots. "How long?" he asked. "How long for what? How long do we have to learn?" "As long as it takes," said Sung Ho. "Some species learn quickly. Others need more time. But everyone gets the chance to learn." Kyung Ho closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he looked like a man who had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. "All ships," he said into his communicator, "stand down weapons. Prepare for surrender." On the bridge of the Absolute, Sung Ho felt both relief and sadness. Relief that another war had been avoided. Sadness that it had come to this. "Admiral," said Yujin, "that is the last major fleet. The entire galaxy has now surrendered to human authority." Sung Ho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of beings were learning that their old way of life was over. Some would be angry, some would be afraid, but all of them would have the chance to be part of something better. "Send word to all human commanders," he said. "Begin Phase 2. Time to start teaching." The age of human rule over the galaxy had begun. Whether it would be remembered as a golden age or a dark time would depend on what lessons the galaxy was willing to learn. 1 year had passed since the human takeover of the galaxy. Ambassador Subin walked through the corridors of New Geneva Station, the most advanced space station ever built. The station existed in folded space, somehow occupying the same location. As 17 different star systems at the same time, it was impossible technology that hurt her brain to think about. But it worked perfectly, allowing representatives from across the galaxy to meet without traveling for months. "The crime statistics are remarkable," said Taeho, walking beside her. He was the new director of Galactic Peace, a job that had not existed before humans took control. "Galaxy-wide crime has dropped by 94%. Subin nodded as she read the reports on her electronic tablet. Murder was almost extinct. Theft was rare. Wars had stopped completely. Species that had been fighting for thousands of years were now working together on science projects. "Fear is a powerful teacher," she said. They entered the observation deck, a huge room with windows that looked out into space. But because of the station's strange physics, each window showed a different star system. Subin could see ships from dozens of species docking peacefully at human-built stations. "Do you think it will last?" asked Wu Jin. He was one of the few aliens who had adapted quickly to the new reality. The former military advisor now worked as a liaison between human and alien governments. Subin considered the question carefully. Through one of the windows, she could see a human patrol ship conducting its routine sweep. The ship was called Serenity, and its captain, Jun Seo, had reported no incidents for the entire month. That was a new record. In the old galaxy, patrol, ships always found something. Pirates, smugglers, rebel groups, or just two species shooting at each other for reasons nobody could remember. Now there was nothing. Just peaceful ships going about their business. "The fear will fade," said Subin. "It always does. People forget why they were afraid. Children grow up never knowing what their parents feared." "Then what?" asked Wu Jin. "What happens when fear is not enough to keep the peace?" Subin pointed to another window. Through it, they could see a classroom on a distant planet. Human teachers were showing alien children how to solve problems without violence, how to share resources fairly, how to work together instead of fighting. "Education," she said. "Fear brings peace quickly. Education makes peace permanent." Taeho was reading reports on his own tablet. "The prisoner rehabilitation programs are working well. 97% of former criminals have integrated successfully into productive communities. And the other 3%? Still learning," said Taeho. "Humans are very patient teachers." That was true. Subin had visited some of the education planets where former soldiers and criminals were learning to live peacefully. The humans did not punish them or hurt them. They just waited and taught, and waited some more. Some beings learned quickly. Others needed years to understand that violence was not the answer to their problems, but everyone got as much time as they needed. "Ma'am," said Wanbin, approaching with a communication device, "we have a priority message from the Outer Rim. Territories." Subin took the device and listened to the message. Her face showed surprise, then concern. "What is it?" asked Wu Jin. "First contact," said Subin. "A probe from the Andromeda Galaxy has entered our space. They are requesting formal diplomatic contact." The room became quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Another galaxy had discovered that humans controlled this one. They would want to know who these humans were and how powerful they had become. "What are our orders?" asked Taeho. Subin thought about the message she had received from Earth Command. The human government had been expecting this day. They had plans for contact with other galaxies. "We invite them to New Geneva Station," she said. "We show them what we have built here. We let them see how peaceful our galaxy has become." "And if they are hostile?" asked Wanbin. "Then we teach them the same lesson we taught everyone else," said Subin simply. Through the windows of the observation deck, they could see the daily life of a galaxy at peace. Cargo ships moved between systems without armed escorts. Passenger liners carried tourists to planets that had once been battlefields. Scientific expeditions explored dangerous regions that no one had dared to visit when everyone was fighting. Children from different species played together. Adults worked on projects that benefited everyone instead of just their own kind. Old enemies had become friends, or at least peaceful neighbors. "Do you ever wonder," asked Wu Jin, "if we are the bad guys in this story?" Subin looked at him with surprise. "What do you mean?" "I mean, humans took over the galaxy by force. They threatened to erase entire species. They moved billions of people without permission. In the old stories, those are things that villains do." Subin was quiet for a moment. It was a fair question. Humans had used overwhelming force to impose their will on everyone else. They had made threats that would have been considered evil if anyone else had made them. "Wu Jin," she said finally, "how many people died in wars last year?" "None, ma'am." "How many children went hungry?" "None, ma'am." "How many species were enslaved or genocided?" "None, ma'am." "Then maybe," said Subin, "the story is more complicated than heroes and villains." She walked to the central window, which showed Earth itself. The human homeworld looked green and blue and beautiful. No weapons orbited it. No armies marched on its surface. It was just a peaceful planet where beings had learned to live without hurting each other. The old galaxy killed billions of people every year, she said. It treated war like entertainment. It allowed the strong to torture the weak just because they could. If stopping that makes us villains, then I can live with being a villain. Young Su entered the observation deck carrying a report. He was the director of Galactic Security, in charge of the quantum surveillance network that watched every inhabited system. "Ma'am," he said, "the Andromedan probe has arrived. They are requesting permission to dock." "Grant it," said Subin, "and prepare a full demonstration package. I want them to understand exactly what kind of galaxy they are dealing with." "Should we show them the weapon capabilities?" "Everything," said Subin. "If they are peaceful, they will be impressed and respectful. If they are hostile, they will be terrified and cautious. Either way, they will not make the same mistakes our galaxy made 300 years ago." As the Andromedan probe docked with New Geneva Station, Subin thought about the message it would carry back to its home galaxy. The message would say that this galaxy was ruled by beings of incredible power and terrible mercy. Beings who could destroy anything but chose to build instead. Beings who could erase entire species but chose to educate them instead. Beings who had turned a galaxy of endless war into a galaxy of peaceful cooperation. Whether that message would inspire fear or hope would depend on who received it. But Subin was confident that whatever the Andromedans decided, humanity was ready. They had learned to be everywhere at once. They had learned to manipulate reality itself. Most importantly, they had learned to use their power wisely. The galaxy was at peace, and it would stay at peace, because humans were watching, always watching, and they remembered what happened to galaxies that chose war over wisdom. In the end, that was enough. Fear had brought peace, education would make it permanent, and human vigilance would make sure it lasted forever. The universe had learned its lesson, and the teacher was never going away.